This is episode 6 of The Art of Agency, a launchpad for realtors. I'm Jonathan Green.
And I'm Mallory Pasder.
We are back with, this is actually our first coaching episode. So we told you in the beginning, we're going to switch off between coaching episodes and then agent episodes. So next week, you're going to get your first agent episode. This week is your first coaching episode with just Mallory and I, and it is the pros and cons of real estate teams, which we did talk about on some of the initial episodes, but we're about to go deep into it. Mallory has been on 2 teams. I've started 3 teams, currently running 1, and we're going to give you all the pros and cons, talk about everything that we can think of. We'll probably forget a bunch of stuff, but that's why we're bringing on a bunch of agents. They're also going to be able to tell you stuff about teams as we go. Mallory, why did you join a first team when you went to Keller Williams?
Yeah, good question. So when I started, I kind of had a brief stint at Coldwell. And there was nothing wrong there. It was just too far, really. I was kind of going out to middle nowhere, Pennsylvania. But, my thought process behind joining a team was always like, I came from a professional sales background, so I knew I could handle that part. I knew I could market myself, but I didn't know anything about like real estate, right? So I wanted to learn how to write offers. I wanted to learn how to do a showing effectively and learn what a seller consultation listing appointment looks like. So I think I always went in with the mindset that like, I wanted to be on a team for at least the first year or 2 of my career, regardless. And, I'm super process oriented. So in my head, I was like, all right, I'm joining a team for a year or 2, like at minimum, just so I can decide then whether I want to be on my own, whether I want to start my own team, whether I want to, do all that. So I don't know. I just think in this market we're into, like, it is hard as a solo agent, right? I mean, I have friends that are solo agents and they do very, very well. But I think they've been in the industry for a while. So it's like they already have all that. I think as a new agent, like you almost have to join a team. I mean, that's my opinion, but I think
I agree.
valid.
I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. What's one thing that people ask a lot about teams where they're like weary about it?
Splits.
Yeah. We're so good at this, or we're just
so
like
good
in each other's minds now. Yeah. I think that splits is where people make catastrophic mistakes assessing teams because they're just thinking of the money. When you first joined, did you think about the split? Did you calculate it? And was it an issue? And then what do you think everybody else is thinking?
I'll say this. I think splits do matter but in a different way, right? Like, I think you have to determine like what you're getting out of that split, right? Like,
that's a great point.
Yeah. Cause like if you're getting 50-50, but you literally have 0 personal business and you're all leads based, and that person's paying for your signs and your business cards and your marketing and stuff like that. Like, okay, like that kind of makes sense to me. But if you're doing majority of personal business and you're splitting all of your business 50-50, like that doesn't really make sense to me,
Yeah, I agree.
And again, I think people kind of get stuck in that. But then as they start to explore that there's other options out there, like, every team's going to run differently, right? Like they function like a business. So I think the important thing is to find a team that aligns itself that way, not just like being with a team leader that wants to make money off of you, because there is that in real estate. We all know that. It's really weird because like I think we share a brain sometimes, because I was literally just going to say how important like systems and processes are, honestly.
Yeah.
Like if you're like, if you're going to join a team, you should hear the words from them like, we have systems and processes in place. If you do not hear those words in an interview, then don't even look at that team.
I
like
agree. I would ask what systems and like you had a great question. Well, like what systems and process do you have for getting offers out? That to me is like, that's the most important thing. I do think it's okay to ask about where the leads come from. That's totally valid. But yeah, I mean, I think if you don't have systems, like, why are you on a team? What are you getting?
Exactly.
And I do think there has to be substantial coaching. We're both coaches, and I think like we like to be coached. And I think like as a team leader, if there's team leaders listening, like what we're looking for is coachable is like at the top of the list. Is someone willing to listen? That's why it's hard as a team leader to hire high Ds if you know the distext. they're very hard to manage because they want to be leaders. So you're usually butting heads, as a D to another high D. But, sometimes the trailing disc assessment letter can actually be okay, and it can work if you're like, DS or SD, those things can work. But yeah, I mean, without systems, I don't think you can be an effective realtor. You're just going to always be disappointing your clients, not getting things in on time. And some people have to be trained to get the systems right.
Yeah, and I think that's important because we've been talking about joining teams a lot, but I think that's important as a solo agent, right? Like and that'd be my word of advice for solo agents. Like if you're not going to be on a team, great, like that's awesome, but you need to also develop your own systems and processes. And part of that could be like hiring a coach to help you develop that, or going to meetings at your brokerage and learning from other people. But I think you need at least some guidance when you get into this as a solo agent too. I mean, people say a lot, like I have a lot of friends in the industry that have said like they learned by doing, but now they're trying to like coach people because they're like, I didn't have anybody to do that for me.
How important do you think accountability is for teams? And I'd like to talk about why it's a pro and a con, because some people just don't want to be accountable at all.
It's true. And I think it's hard. My background, like I'm a self-starter. I always have been. I always worked remotely. I always was out in Ireland doing my own thing. So for me, it's like, I don't necessarily need it, but I like it. That's how I function. Like I like using a CRM. I like having a weekly report submitted of how many showings I've done, but that's just me personally. And I get that some people don't like that. But again, the lack of accountability also tells me then, like, how are you going to make it? How are you going to move forward in this business?
Not.
Because
no one who's not accountable is going to move forward in any business. That's just a fact.
And by the way, like again, same thing, kind of going back to solo versus team. If you're not on a team, like I like that aspect of our team. But if you're not on a team, then you need to find somebody who will hold you accountable. Yeah. Like find a friend who's also a solo agent where you can kind of like maybe have weekly check-in calls and stuff like that. But you need to do that for sure.
Think, what people forget is if you're not accountable to your team, if you're a team member on the team and you can't stay accountable, why would I think you're accountable to the clients? If you can't even follow the weekly things that are laid out in stone, put this here by then, be on this meeting, what happens when your clients need it, or send you a Zillow, at 10 p.m. I'm hitting those messages because I want to do the best for my clients. I'm a little obsessive also. I know you are too, but like if you're not accountable to the team and you're not accountable to yourself and you can't hold yourself accountable, you're definitely not accountable to the clients, which means you're failing. Your clients are going to go buy houses with other agents, which, we see all the time. And then when you look back inside Chime or whatever CRM, you go, oh, look, we're not accountable to even following up, even though we told you, you got to follow up with your clients all the time.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's a really solid point. And yeah, so I think accountability is huge, but that also, it all ties together, right? Like that goes into systems and processes. Like even if you're holding yourself accountable, fine. Like if you're, you're getting a certain, we did the 100-point day thing, you're holding yourself accountable to a certain amount of points. And that's honestly, we should do an episode on that.